Episode 31, Mentor. Take one. Brother Tyler, invite the guests into the lodge and leave the door open so others may join us and see how things go tonight. Welcome to another episode of Follow Me. We are your hosts. This over here is Worship Brother Wiley Forrester, and I'm Worship Brother Will Moore. This episode is brought to you by Peace and Harmony.
May it prevail always.
Absolutely.
So again, welcome to another episode of Follow Me. We'd like to thank all of you who continue to watch, and as usual, we very much appreciate your time and taking just part of your day just to be with us. Tonight we're going to talk about mentor.
Yep.
And what they mean and what they should mean and what their purpose is, in hopes that maybe we'll start implementing them again back into our fraternity.
Well, you and I have some great mentors.
Yes.
And we've made sure and told them. We've talked about making sure your mentors know who they are. But I believe that mentorship has fallen to the wayside in some of our lodges.
Oh, absolutely. It goes along with the same thing as the, brethren wanting quantity over quality, and we need to reverse that trend, especially now more than ever.
And I believe, and I think Worship Brother Forrester agrees with me. If he doesn't, he's wrong. No.
Probably.
But I think that in my opinion, your first line signer on your petition should be your first mentor. And I think that because the man thought enough of you to help you get into Masonry, to bring you to that door.
Well, that's true. I mean, I can go with that.
So he may not be your only mentor. I think you should have several. But I do believe that if that person thinks enough of you to bring you in the door, that he should also teach you about Masonry.
Well, what is a mentor? As it's defined and how we use it in Masonry.
So to me, and it's very close to the definition, it's a wise and trusted advisor, someone who teaches you the ropes.
Yeah, somebody's got to teach you the ropes. I think that personally that this part of Masonry has really, like you said, fallen to the wayside. And we see the effects of that daily. We talk about Masonic education often and always. And, the uneducated brother really ends up making a fool of himself sometimes.
And I think you see a lot of that in today's society with social media.
Mm-hmm.
Folks putting out things that they just can't hold in, but as a Mason, you should really hold it in, because somebody's going to see that and know you're a Mason, and then, well, do all Masons think like that?
Well, and they should be that mentor should be that first person to tell you, look, these are the things we don't do as a Mason, period.
And one of the things I don't hear folks explain enough is that you're a Mason 24/7.
Correct.
A lot of people that I've met around the country, they're Masons once or twice a month, or at a barbecue, or at a pancake breakfast, or spaghetti dinner. You got to live it from the moment you get in till the moment they lay you in that grave, because that's how long you are a Mason.
So your mentor should be your greatest consultant.
Absolutely. He should share his knowledge with you, be willing to share your knowledge, but he should also be your greatest counselor.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I have found about myself during this pandemic, that I found that actually, in my own opinion of myself, and I'm usually my toughest critic.
Absolutely.
That I have become a better listener than trying to convince people that it's my way or no way, but usually I fail at listening. I listen to speak instead of listening to hear. Does that make sense?
Right. You were waiting for your wedge in so that you could speak your piece, instead of taking what the brother said to you and absorbing it.
Correct.
And gleaning something off of it.
So that, we talked about in some of our previous shows about, what have we learned? What I learned about myself. I've learned that that I can listen better, and I have become a better listener of things before I delve out onto that slippery slope with the passion that I try to bring to the fraternity.
Well, once in a while you still get up on that soapbox a little earlier than you should.
Yeah, but that's when I become that part of the mentor that's a cheerleader. Because, you know, you want to be supportive and you've got to bring enthusiasm and try not to cross that line. I know that it's hard for people like me to not push the envelope because, unfortunately, I think all Masons should be like me and be full of what Masonry brings to your life. If not, you should have not taken that dive off into to begin with. And I'm not saying at the level to which I'm over exuberant about it sometimes, but what I'm saying is that we need to be full of it. We need to be full of Masonry, and we've all we're asked the same question: where were you first prepared? We're asked, all of us. It doesn't matter where you are around the globe. It's the same question.
Well, and also being a cheerleader, there's another part to being a cheerleader that most people don't think about. But as a cheerleader, you also have to bring that constructive criticism.
Oh, yeah.
And that's part of the support edge of being a cheerleader. You got to let someone know that, hey, you're on that line, over that line, steering towards that line, so that it can bring them back in and they can not harm themselves or harm the fraternity. Because a lot of folks have the me attitude right now. It's prevalent in our world. And I think with that me attitude, you don't think about what you are doing to Masonry.
That's right. And it's almost like we're all guilty of it. We have our blinders on because we've had to refocus certain aspects of our lives and how we live our lives, that we are forgetting to live our lives according to the precepts that were taught to us in Masonry. And with that, you know, we have become a fraternity of thin-skinned individuals. And it's up to our mentors in our mentoring program to let the brethren know that, you know, sometimes you got to have thick skin and just sort of let it roll off.
Well, and absolutely you need thick skin. And in this world we live in today, you also need thick skin so that things don't get under there and make you want to do something that later you regret. Because just like firing a gun, the moment you hit enter on something for social media, an email, anything electronic, the moment you put it out there, it's there forever. Whether you go back and try to retract it or not, someone somewhere will have grabbed a screenshot of it. And it's there forever. So in today's Masonry, why is mentoring needed?
Well, we need to be sure that all the different lanes of Masonry, such as ritual, our etiquette, how to act, our symbolism, our history, both operative and speculatively, we've got to be able to understand those things, and we're not teaching them the way we once taught them, especially our Masonic code, the rules to which we're supposed to abide by.
And our bylaws.
Yeah, and our individual lodge bylaws. This stuff you can't just learn today.
No.
You know, I mean, you and I spent a little time earlier today trying to find specifics in our Masonic code as it was in relation to a question that was asked to us. And, you know, even after all these years, it still takes me some time, even though we got a great, you know, electronic version of the code, to still formulate my words I want to use in my search engine.
Right. Well, you know, I guess one thing for me is I'm taught a lot of speculative Masonry, or have been over the last 15 years I've been in Masonry. I haven't really been taught a lot of the operative side.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the things we miss. Kind of like when we talked about St. John's Day, it's not really an operative or speculative thing, but it's just some of those old teachings just aren't done anymore. And
well, then we choke things off in spite of time. You know, it's all about time.
This is not a short track sprint.
No.
This is a marathon, and it takes time. He's almost ready to hit his 25 here shortly.
Yeah, it won't be long.
And I've hit my 15. we know that we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the new book that you brought me today, and I'm trying to figure out when am I going to have time to read another 900-page book. But the point being is, there's so many things out there for us to learn, and it's up to our mentors, not necessarily cut the corners off of it, but to throw the meat out to the brother to begin with.
Well, and it's also going to help the brother too, because if you throw those little tidbits of meat out there, like you said, he's going to latch on to certain ones of them that are of greatest interest to him. And that's going to help drive the mentor down a path to make him the best, to make the mentee the best Mason he can be.
Right.
Because not every Mason, I'm not a big history buff. I'm learning a little bit more, and I'm enjoying it a little bit more because I'm spending time with Wiley, and he's a huge history buff. But that's not my lane. My lane is more the electronic means.
And I'm learning a lot off that. So, yeah.
We're mentoring each other off that kind of stuff. But if those crumbs hadn't been thrown out there for me via this medium, I wouldn't be reading about the history of Georgia Masonry and other Masonic bodies.
And it probably wouldn't have piqued your interest, too.
Yeah.
And it's just like some of the things that you're able to teach me that are everyday no-brainer things to you when it comes to, being more digital and being more fluent in some things, especially electronically. Well, why don't we do it this way, Wiley? Or, well, I never thought about it that way because I just don't know. Well, that's the responsibility of a mentor in our lodges. Right. To give me the why. The mentor is going to give the understudy the why that it should be in a language that he can understand. And it's his job as the mentor to basically indoctrinate the new member into the ways, the accepted ways that we do things in Masonry. Now, in hindsight, if he's a good mentor, but he may have a few questionable habits. Not me. I got good habits. But you can create some bad habits at that point too. So these things still have to be monitored and should be monitored by the master of the lodge.
Well, and the other thing too is mentoring never ends.
No, it's a lifetime commitment.
Even though I know Wiley's a mentor to a lot of folks, he still has a lot of folks that are mentors to him because you're always learning and you're always teaching.
Well, and you and I talked about it too. I had a good privilege over this past, past Independence Day was this weekend, and I got to go visit with one of my mentors and spend a lot of time. We didn't talk anything Masonic related, but life related were some very valuable lessons there for me still. And this brother's been mentoring me for 20 plus years, so it never ends. And then of course you and I have a couple common mentors that really help us. They help us look at things from a different perspective.
Well, the cool thing was I got to go see one of my mentors last week down at the Grand Lodge office. He knows he's a mentor of mine, but I got to help my mentor with something that he wasn't familiar with. And that is such a great feeling for someone who gives. You feel like they give and give and give to you. To be able to give something back is an absolute dream. And I don't mean it to sound like he's on some pedestal or anything, but your mentors give you so much without realizing sometimes they give you.
That's right. And they give so much of themselves so freely. And that's the one thing, too, as a good mentor will do. The only thing a mentor would ever ask in return is to apply the things you learn. You show in results. You don't show in... it's never monetary. It's never any of that. It's if you've got the message, somebody's beat it in your skull enough that you've gotten the message, then that mentor's watching you. No matter what, that mentor's watching you every single day. He watches your social media. He watches how you interact with other people if you're in person. But most of all, your mentor is also that person there to give you the nudge when you could be better than what you're currently doing, meaning he can help you achieve greatness.
Right.
And that's what we should all strive to attain, is to be the best we can be.
Well, and one thing to me that mentoring and it's in its essence, to me, underpins the retention of our brethren.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it encourages them to become active members of their lodges and to serve as ambassadors for Freemasonry. You know, one of the things I just popped into my head, it's not in our notes. This fraternity is probably the biggest proponent of paying it forward.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, you learn something from your mentor. You're not going to keep that for yourself. You're going to look for avenues to give that to someone else. I think this is one of the most, I know we say we're a giving fraternity, we help folks, but we give of ourselves and our time and our experience to that mentee without even thinking about it sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And you know, being a mentor, it doesn't take a lot of effort.
It doesn't.
It really doesn't. I mean, you would be surprised at picking at how answering the phone when someone calls, and you just be there on the other end of the phone. You just may have helped that person during that day, no matter what part of life you're in. So, I mean, that happens in your regular life too, your business life, your home life, and your Masonic life. So, you know, mentoring never stops either, just like learning.
One of the cool things about mentors is the mentors that I have out there are some of my greatest friends.
Yes, me too. I wholeheartely agree with that statement.
I was really surprised the fact that someone who took the time to teach me, and I figured it was going to be here, learn these few things, then have become the ones that I turn to, spend the most time with, look forward. You know, if they're off the grid for 3 or 4 days, you kind of like,
Yeah, it happens that way,
I miss that interaction. But one of the big things we need to ensure, we got to make sure that the mentor is matched to that candidate. They've got to be the right fit and have that good relationship, because just like the teachers you didn't like in school, and you probably did poor because you didn't like the teachers, if you have a bad mentorship or bad relationship in that mentorship, it's not gonna bode well for either one of you. It could drive both of you out of Masonry because you've had a bad experience.
That's right. And there too, you know, you have to make sure that when you're pairing that mentor, that person's going to give their time. They're going to invest in that new member or a current member. I mean, even a long-time member still needs a mentor. But it's all about investment of time. What is your time worth? If you're going to be my mentor, you know, I hope that your time is worth it for me, because I know you're giving up your time to be with me, and I'm probably going to be the guy that's going to say, man, I appreciate you giving up so much time to just come be with me.
And, you know, and we appreciate, like everyone's on the other end of this video watching, we appreciate your time more than you know. And I know a lot of the folks who watch these videos and have watched our live sessions are mentors to us.
And we learn a lot every time we do this.
We do. And we appreciate it more than we can say. And sometimes it feels like it's beating a dead horse, but to get that little nudge to someone, being on the other end of that little nudge, hey, you really helped me. Hey, it was great spending time with you, means a lot more than you might think it does, even if it's over and over and over again. You know, being a mentor to me, it has one ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of your mentorship is that you're training a future Masonic leader.
Yeah, in some endeavor. Now, whether it may be master of his lodge, it could be president of his shrine club, it could be involved at Scottish Rite. Who knows?
He could be the guy who comes up and vacuums the lodge and doesn't want to be in the chairs. It could be any number of things, from the highest chairs in whatever body or appendant body or in his local lodge, all the way down to the brother that sits on the sidelines that just wants to be there for the Masonic fellowship.
And to understand this too, and down at the leadership conference several years ago, you heard me make this statement, and it just came to me like just bam. It was, when you're mentoring people, especially in our fraternity, for all you know, you could be mentoring the Grand Master of Masons one day. Period. Hands down. And if you were fortunate enough to be that mentor, when that person, if you live long enough to see that person achieve that exalted state, you'll remember.
They'll remember.
They'll remember you because they'll be a part of you.
Yeah.
And you know,
when you give someone your time and your energy and your experience and your knowledge, you're not just giving them words that float through the air. You're giving them a piece of yourself that they carry with them forever.
Forever, and it never goes away because you could be doing something. You know, you and me, we talk about it on a regular basis. When we'll be doing something and you'll say, you know, brother so-and-so said this, or I'll say, brother so-and-so told us this. It's amazing when you're being mentored what you're hanging on when they're speaking.
Well, and one of the things that's always impressed me, it'll impress me until the day they lay me to rest. I watched, and granted the brother had some issues with his legs or whatever, but I watched a grandmaster, current sitting grandmaster, get down on his knees and tie someone's shoe.
Yeah, I saw that. I was there. I got a photo.
Yeah. Always a servant. I know that was his message that year as well, but if you think about that, when you trace it back, part of the mentoring we get is everyone's on the level.
Mm-hmm.
No image in my mind impresses me more than seeing what I saw that day and knowing that this is the Grand Master of all Masons in Georgia. Yet he's going to stop and tie a man's shoe for him.
Because the man had surgery and his hips were messed
But
up.
it didn't matter to the Grand Master.
No.
He was wanting to help. That was a mentoring to me
Mm-hmm.
that right now it gives me goosebumps.
Well, speaking of that, when does mentoring start?
I believe it starts from the time the brother asked for the man asked for a petition. If I came up to you and asked you for a petition, I did it because I have a relationship with you already.
Correct.
I would hope that once you become my top line signer, because I've asked you to do it,
Mm-hmm.
that you become my mentor. Because I usually ask someone you already have a good relationship with. Now, we all know that from the get-go, we can't teach them anything they can't know before the degrees.
Right.
But at that moment, you would start asking me questions about what my interests were. You would look for ways to engage me from the start. That would be the start of mentorship.
And also, if I knew you already, which is I should,
right,
because you would not have asked me.
right.
It seems like oxymoron, but it's true.
It happens.
But I would also know your interest when I'm talking to you and I'm filling you out about why you want to do this beforehand. That way, if I'm a good mentor, I'm already thinking about who in the lodge is going to be a good fit for you so that I can introduce you to this brother already. So if you do get fortunate enough to be elected into a lodge, this will be a brother you can relate to because you may have the same interest.
Right. And, when we talk about mentorship, you're going to have usually one main or starting first line, what I call a first line mentor.
Right.
In the example we talked about, he would be my first line mentor. By no means are you going to have one mentor.
Right.
I have more than I can count
Mm-hmm.
because I'm always learning something from somebody, because Masons that I know, and I've got Grand Lodge officers who are friends, mentors, and anyone can be a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
I've got folks that are just coming into Lodge that are just getting through their degrees that I'm learning stuff from.
And that's another thing, too, is even though these guys get fortunate enough to become Grand Lodge officers, they're still your friends and they're still your mentors. Yeah. Those guys. And they are still getting mentored.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are very fortunate because of our relationships we've built with our leaders of our fraternity. But I think we're more fortunate is the fact of how some of them have shared their knowledge with us, and have invested time into us, as well as listening to us invest time into them.
And I can't express it enough. anytime you have a chance to sit down with any Mason, please do it, because especially some of our older Masons, they've got some fantastic stories for you. But also, if you ever get a chance to sit down with a Grand Lodge officer, just over breakfast, like you're at Grand Lodge, you're sitting down for breakfast, ask them about themselves, how they got to where they are now. You will be amazed at the stories behind how they got into Masonry, or what they did before Masonry, or what they're looking to do after they get out of the Grand Line, or what they still want to learn, what they still want to. It's just phenomenal.
And the cool thing that I usually enjoy hearing from most of them is the same answer. I never in a million years would have imagined I would be at where I'm at in Masonry. That's the way I feel every day about Masonry. Right. You know, Masonry has blessed you, it's blessed me more than I can. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to repay it for some of the things that Masonry awarded me that I didn't feel like I deserved. But somewhere someone thought that I was a good enough mentor. I presented Masonry in a positive light and was recognized for that. But that's not why we do it. Right. We do it because we love it, number one. And number two is it gives us a great platform to serve other people.
Just like this platform gives us a way to serve all of you by sharing some of the things that we don't feel like get talked about enough. You know, case in point, St. John's Day. Case in point, tonight's episode, mentoring. We do have here in Georgia a Masonic education mentoring class, and I know a lot of other states do too. I just focus here on Georgia with this one because I know we don't seem to do it enough.
No, and it was a big part of our program 5 or 6 years ago, but like everything else, it just sort of, for time's sake, we do it this way, and our program's falling off in our lodges because our attendance is not very great, and you don't have a lot of mentors to select from. But in going back to what you said, if someone is a first-line signer, they should be your mentor.
Well, and also, like I said earlier, if you do the mentoring properly, if you share that knowledge and find out their interests, you're going to want them. They're going to want to be engaged. And I think what we did a lot of is quantity over quality. You get them in, you get them through the degrees, and then just, okay, next. We can't do that next thing. No Mason, once he's brought into the lodge, regardless of degree, you can't just let him sit over there.
We've got to invest. And that's what mentors should do, is invest. So in order to pull this thing together for us tonight, we learned 3 things that a mentor was. And we need to reiterate those things as we get ready to the 3 C's. That's right.
A consultant.
Yep.
A counselor. And a cheerleader. Those are the 3 things you need to be as a mentor.
Those are 3 very important keys to being a good mentor.
Talk. Share your knowledge. Listen, listen, listen. And support.
And encourage, enthusiasm.
That support is going to, I just tried to break it down in a single or couple words, but support is all about supporting them, giving them enthusiasm, giving them some constructive criticism. There's a lot to it, but if you're a consultant, you share, you talk, you give your knowledge away. If you're a counselor, you listen. Listen to what that brother has to say. Try to find those meanings between the words, because a lot of times someone who's especially new in Masonry will not come to you with a direct question. He'll ask it in a roundabout way. So you have to learn to listen between the words.
Correct.
And then if they're down, if they've done something, be that cheerleader for them to either bring them back on the right track or keep pushing them down the track they're currently going down.
So please continue to mentor. Be good mentors. Be good listeners. Most of all, be a good support staff for all Masons.
Bring it back to the foreground.
Yes, absolutely.
Your lodges will thrive for it.
Oh yeah, they'll benefit 100% for having a good program such as this.
But I got to say this: don't expect the ship to turn around immediately.
Well, we're a big ship now.
Well, I mean, even an individual lodge.
I mean, even if you look at the smallest lodge, one that's got 27, 30 members, that's still a big organization to try to turn with a small rudder.
And not everyone is acceptable of change.
No, Lord knows. And Masons, we really don't like change.
But this isn't a change. This is something we need to bring back that's...
Oh, yeah, it's just reinstituting a program that's already there.
Yeah.
So continue to mentor. Try to develop mentors there at your place. Talk about the importance of being mentors to people. You know, you've heard me say it thousands of times in many of the talks that I've given at a lodge. You know, if you want them to be a certain way, act a certain way, talk a certain way, you've got to teach them that certain way.
Well, and you also need to show that
Yes.
you do that.
Yes, lead by example.
Absolutely.
Always. So we got a few quotes for tonight. They're kind of they were in line with our being mentors and for teachers, and because a mentor is a teacher and a listener, you know, the counselor and all those cool things. The 3 C's. We'll try to use that as our moniker from now on. Mm-hmm. But the first one's from Ken Blanchard, and Ken Blanchard writes a lot of books that I've read that are the 1 Minute Manager type deals. I don't know if you've read many of the 1 Minute Manager series, but he also wrote Who Moved the Cheese? It's a little 97-page book.
Who Moved the Cheese?
Yes, it is the... Well, we'll talk about that in another show, but but it's one of those books that really get into the meat and get out of it at the end really quick. And it's basically about people who haul around. And there were 3 mice, and one of them was named Him, and the other one was Haw. And it's a pretty cool book. So I know it's a lot of babble, but still. But Ken Blanchard said, it's been true in my life that when I've needed a mentor, the right person always shows up.
True. When I needed a good mentor, he showed up.
Nah, I was just decent. Yeah. Whatever.
So Robert Frost.
Yes.
Not Jack Frost.
No.
Stated that I am not a teacher, but an awakener.
Think about that in relative terms with being a mentor. That is pretty cool. That's cool. That's pretty cool right there.
Wake up that sleeping Freemason inside that man that's already there. Because as most of us know, folks who come to Freemasonry are already a Freemason in their heart.
That's right, and you know this next one is pretty. This one is me 100%. The best teachers teach from the heart, not from the book, because sometimes the book just runs together. When you teach from the heart, in relation to the book, then you're putting it into a language someone can understand.
Taking that legalese and making a parable out of it.
Yeah, making it nice, you know, something you can deal with. And of course, the greatest one is Coach John Wooden. You know, and this fact is something I learned when I was in high school. This very same quote, and that's many, many moons ago now. But it's a really good life quote, and it talks about coaching and what a good and great coach can do. But a good coach can change a game. But a great coach can change a life.
A good mentor can change a Mason. A great mentor will change his life.
Exactly. Same thing.
I know.
Same thing. So these are pretty good quotes and good things that are in relation to what we're talking about tonight. But this episode is it really means a lot to me on so many levels.
Yeah.
You don't ever really sit back and say, well, you know, I'm going to be so-and-so's mentor. You don't choose that.
No, they choose you.
Your mentors, you know, you
Mentees.
choose. Your mentees are going to choose you. You know, if they want to learn from you, be willing to share with them.
Absolutely.
That's all we can say about that.
So I think it was a fantastic episode tonight. I know it was a little longer than we normally want to go on these recorded shows, but there was a lot of substance that we had to put out there about being a mentor, because I really think around the world we need greater mentors. I'm on a lot of social media Freemason groups.
Right.
And I'm seeing a lot of non-Freemason talk. by Masons because they haven't been mentored to properly.
Correct.
So thank you again for spending time with us on Follow Me today and this week. I know we didn't do a show on Tuesday, but we need a little break. We're going to probably take it down to maybe one show a week for a little while until we get some things back up to speed. Trying to get involved back in our lodges again and get things back on track after being off track for 3 months. It's taken a little more energy than we thought it was going to.
And it's really been rough on us because we're trying to coach our lodges and coach our people back into, we're really trying to pep them up and get a little more spirit into them because they're struggling with the guidelines and not understanding the guidelines. I think it's not that, and then again, we want to always reiterate that our Grandmaster has our full support. Mm-hmm. I think he has done a magnificent job. And
the Grandmasters of other states have also done fantastic jobs too, because we've been reading what's going on in other states and keeping up with that as well. And it seems there's a general theme. Almost like they talk to each other or something. Mm-hmm. But
what Georgia does is a forerunner for what a lot of others do.
Right.
I mean, we are we carry a lot of clout around this country, so I'm very proud of our Grandmaster and who he is and what he's done and how he's been able to. He's steadied our ship, and there's a lot of big decisions that still have to be made, and they're coming up soon.
Well, and just like if you have a car sitting out in the driveway, and I'll kind of close up with this. If you've let it set for 3.5 months without starting it, with that gas getting old in it, it's hard to get it going again. And a lot of our lodges are like that. Even though we said, hey, get prepared. Even we didn't do it to the level we should have. And we're seeing that now, and trying to push that car down the track is not an excuse, but it's taking more energy than we thought it would. Eventually we'll be back into the flow of it, and we'll have time to sit down and do these a couple of times a week once again. But for now, it's probably going to be one show a week unless we can kind of scab a couple of quick shows in somewhere. But always remember that we always thank you as our audience for watching and spending your time with us. We know your time is valuable, and we don't take it lightly. We don't make these longer than we need to for just because. But please remember to hit that subscribe button, the like button on the video, and click that little bell over there. That's over there under Wiley, so that you get reminded of when our shows come on. And as you've seen scrolling in the video tonight are all of our links: Twitter, Facebook, our email address, our YouTube channel. That's all out there. Feel free to share that. Feel free to go back and watch old videos. As we always say, and I'll wait for a closing thought from...
I don't have one tonight. You've done a great job, and I don't have one tonight.
Wow.
So, like you say, every time we get ready to close our show, it's our byline of every one of our shows, all 31 of them now.
You can have it.
No, it is you.
Be excellent to each other.
Good night.